could not make it tonight, so I'm gonna read her Cubs of the Month.
Oh, so you're going.
Yep.
Mr. Carey wasn't, that third grade book, thanks, so
Oh, they were,
sweet.
yeah, they were cute.
Yeah.
And, my breakout group was so much fun. We started talking about dogs,
Oh,
and
wait,
my puppy happened to
I
be
had
right
to
next
leave
to
it.
me.
7:15 because I had to take my son to soccer. I don't know, but,
Yeah, we did a breakout group. It was
that's great.
fun.
Hi, Mr.
Hey
Williams.
Darren, on this
How
thing,
are you?
the mouse is controlling the black
Awesome.
phone box.
How was the trip?
What you have on screen there.
How long enough? 12
Just in
days,
case you
12
need
days
to
wasn't
click
anything.
anything, but it's good.
Don't be greedy. Some of us didn't get any days.
And of course, you have,
That's dope.
15 more days for Aruba.
should be
How
live.
many
There you go.
That's where I wanna go.
I canceled my trip there. I didn't want to do that COVID test stuff.
Do you know that there are so many people that are booking cruises they showed online yesterday? They're like, cruise ships are starting to fill up again.
Yeah, that's what I draw the line.
Yeah, me too. That's not gonna happen. And I love cruises, but that's not happening for a while.
Costa Rica did it right. Well, actually, Puerto Rico did very well as well.
I heard, we had a friend who went, she said they got it on block, got it on point.
Costa Rica.
All right, guys, we are live, just so you know.
Hey, at this time,
We
we
still
will.
got 2 more minutes, so sorry, I apologize.
It's like,
Sorry about that.
That was a drill.
This is
I-
You guys did well.
But we are live.
Thank you.
We are live. Just can't start till 6:30.
Feel the pressure.
So I'm gonna talk without a mic, is that okay?
Yeah, just speak clearly.
Okay. I mean, I could sing a little.
Go right ahead. Is this on let me entertain you? At this time, we will stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we'll call to order our monthly school board meeting, and we'll start with our district mission statement. In partnership with the community, we promote the academic and personal growth of each student through rigorous programs that support lifelong learning. Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Harris if he would explain to parents or those of you who are listening how you can be involved in our board meeting if you need to be.
So for those that are attending virtually through the live stream, you can participate in the meeting in 2 different spots on the agenda. To do so, you need to send an email to comment@pittsgrove.net. Again, that is comment@pittsgrove.net. Please state your name, address, and your relation, and followed by your comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. At this time, we'll have our roll call.
Mrs. Foster,
here,
Mr. Hancock, Mr. Hardman,
Here.
Mrs. Mullen,
Here.
Mr. Ruiz,
Here.
Mr. Wenzel,
Here.
Mr. Wheaton,
Here.
Mr. DiMatteo,
Here.
Dr. Cannon.
Here,
We have a quorum.
thank you so much. At this time, we'll hear from Ms. Fox-Mano with our student artwork.
Thank you, Dr. Cannon. Tonight, we get the privilege of looking at some PTMS student artwork. Our first piece of artwork is, these are both clay sculptures. We have a beehive tea set by Helena, grade 8. Very, very creative. And we have another clay fired sculpture, which features bluebirds in a tree. See that? And this is produced by Aubrey, grade 7. Wonderful job and very creative.
Thank you, Mrs. Manna. And we want to thank our students for their beautiful artwork on this evening. And those students do come from our middle school, and we are appreciative of your talent. Thank you. At this time, we'll move into our presentation of our student awards. We'll start with our Norma Clubs of the Month. Dr. Ocasio could not be with us, so Mr. Carey will be filling in for her, followed by the Elmer Eagles with Mr. Bruce, the Olivet Owls with Mr. Monty, the PTMS Top Cats with Mr. Hudson, and our Arthur P. Sherlock High School Cougars with Mrs. DeVoyce Tremblay, in that order. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cannon. On behalf of Dr. Ocasio Jimenez, I would like to read the Cubs of the Month for March. Norma Elementary School is pleased to announce the Cubs of the Month for the month of March. These students demonstrate pride, patience, respect, integrity, diligence, and empathy at school. 2 students are selected each month per grade level. Pre-K 4, Mrs. Benedetto. Scarlett Van Acker. Scarlett consistency demonstrates pride in school. She loves to be a helper and is a friend to all. She follows directions and demonstrates excellent behavior. James Hackett. James showed pride by consistently showing kindness to his friends. He comes to school each day ready to learn, and he is an excellent learner. Congratulations, James. Pre-K 3, Malia Morgan, or Mogan, sorry, Malia Mogan. Malia has displayed pride all year. She is diligent and respectful. She comes to school excited and ready to work hard. When interacting with her teachers and peers, she is always caring and kind. Congratulations, Malia. Gabriel Santos. Gabriel has displayed pride this school year. He displays empathy for his classmates and is always ready to make anyone happy. He diligently works hard, tries his best every day. Congratulations, Gabriel.
Okay, we want to congratulate our Norma Cubs, say a job well done. At this time, Mr. Bruce.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to present to you our Eagles of the month of March, and our kids certainly have shown their pride this month. At the end of our announcements, we always end with characters what you say or do when no one else is looking. Make it a great day or not. The choice is yours. Remember to show your Elmer pride. And remember, at Elmer, when you know better, you do better. And pride is on our side. And these kids certainly showed their pride. So, nominated by Mr. Nestor in kindergarten. Oops, sorry, my laptop did something. Oh, there we go. Kaya McQuaid. Congratulations. Also nominated by Mr. Nestor, we have Gabriel Fisk in kindergarten. Congratulations, Gabriel. Nominated by Mr. Driscoll and Mrs. Monty, our first grade Eagles of the month of March, we have Maya Perangeli. And also nominated by Mr. Driscoll and Mrs. Monty, we have Lincoln Evans. I want to congratulate our Elmer Eagles of the month of March. I'm very proud of each and every one of you, boys and girls. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruce, and to the Elmer Eagles, congratulations. Mr. Monty.
Good evening, everyone. This is Mr. Monty, and I am very honored and proud to announce the Olivet Owls for the month of March. Our students have, worked very hard to be good role models for their peers and work hard even during these very difficult virtual times. So first up, from Mrs. Turner's class in 2nd grade, we have Joseph Shami and Augustus Petrunik. Now in third grade from Mrs. Du Bois's class, we have Elizabeth Chantos and Jaden Cutler. And finally, our fourth grade owls. These students are from Mrs. Perkins' class, and we have Brooklyn Dannenauer and Jaden Henry. So congratulations, boys and girls. And again, thank you for being such excellent role models for our students at Olivet School. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Monty, and congratulations to our Olivet Owls. At this time, Mr. Hudson.
Good evening, everybody. This is Mr. Hudson from Pittsgrove Township Middle School, and it is my pleasure to announce our top cats for the month of March. These students continue to demonstrate their pride and to meet their absolute potential. We choose 2 students each month from every grade level. Both our virtual and our in-person students are looked at. So starting with 5th grade, we have Amelia Kachai and Joseph Carberry. Moving into 6th grade, we have Justin Troxel and Alexa Shimp. In 7th grade, we have Autumn Myers and Nicholas Candelero. And in 8th grade, we have Athena Ebrel and Logan Hancock. Congratulations to everybody, and continue up your great work and continue to be role models for all of our other Wildcats. Congratulations.
Thank you to the PTMS Top Cats, and thank you, Mr. Hudson. At this time, Mrs. Du Bois Trumbull.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'd like to start by honoring our Cougars of the Month, and I'll start with our female Cougar of the Month, Michaela Bueller. And I'd like to read a brief biography about Michaela as she approaches her graduation of Shallock High School in just what it seems like only a couple months now. Michaela Bueller is the daughter of Renee and Gary Bueller of Bridgeton. Michaela is a member of the Shallock Dance Academy and is an active participant on the cheer and spring track teams. She also serves as a member of the National Honor Society and has participated in musicals during her years as a high school student at Shallock. In addition to her school commitments, Michaela volunteers her time teaching younger students at the All That Dance Studio. When she is not busy with school and volunteering, Michaela enjoys dancing, hanging out with her friends, going to the beach, and spending time with her family. After graduation, she plans to attend Marymount University, where she has been awarded a presidential scholarship. Michaela is very honored to have been chosen as Cougar of the Month for March 2021. And this is what was written about Michaela. Michaela is an excellent student, ranking in the top 15% of her class. You would not know this, however, because Michaela is humble about her accomplishments. She is a willing contributor in her classes, is a determined, dedicated, and valued member of the Dance Academy, and she enjoys participating with Dance Academy productions. She maintains her grades while participating in extracurricular activities such as cheer and the spring musicals, dancing at her studio, and working after school and on weekends. She's a hard-working young lady who is incredibly talented and motivated. Michaela demonstrates leadership, skills, and creativity in choreography and communicates well with her teachers and peers. As a solid friend, Michaela will listen to others' complaints without taking on the problems as her own. Most of all, Michaela is kind and respectful to all those whom she encounters. Ladies and gentlemen, Michaela Bueller. And joining Michaela this month, we have Kwasine Jackson, known to us as Q. Kwasine is the son of Clarissa Jackson of Vineland. Kwasine is a member of the Shallock boys basketball team, and he assists us on a regular basis as a school counseling office aide. When he is not busy with school and basketball, he enjoys hanging out with his friends and playing sports. After graduation, Kwasine plans to go to college. And this is what was written about Kwasine. Kwasine is helpful, generous, and friendly. Whenever asked, he will immediately, without hesitation, lend a hand to staff members and peers alike. He is quiet and humble, with a fun sense of humor and a great smile. He goes out of his way to warmly greet everyone he sees. He is extremely approachable, and he works hard at his schoolwork. He will be greatly missed throughout the halls of Shalleck High School, and we wish him best of luck in his future endeavors. Ladies and gentlemen, Kwasine Jackson. All right, our underclassmen who are honored as our Pride of the Month for 11th grade, we have Elizabeth Bevel and Isaiah Dent. For 10th grade, Daisy Ramirez Gomez and Jackson Shalleck. And for 9th grade, Ella Price and Lance Crichton. Students, thank you for being positive role models. Keep up the great work, and thank you to the public for supporting our students and to especially our Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you to our students for a job well done. On behalf of the Board of Education, we salute you and we are very proud of you. We want to say thank you to the parents, grandparents, and all those family members that help to encourage you to be the best that you can be. Again, congratulations and thank you for all your hard work and effort. Okay, at this time, we're going to move into our committee reports. We'll have our Operations Subcommittee report by Mr. Hardman.
Thank you. We reviewed the PPPM cooperative. We reviewed the RFP for the substitute and paraprofessional staffing service. Mr. Harris also explained the recent Chromebook purchase, which needs board approval. Our biggest item that we reviewed were all the budget documents. Mr. Harris reviewed the state aid calculation, the charter school calculation, and noted that there was no increase in enrollment to the charter school this year. We reviewed the provisional tax analysis for the tax levies for Pittsgrove and Elmer, and the budget and discussion document. And we also reviewed the proposed project list for projects to be used with monies in this year's budget and next year's budget. And there will, Mr. Harris will review most of that tonight with the full board, but that was our number one topic, was the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Hardman. At this time, may I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hardman. This time we'll have our Curriculum Subcommittee report by Mrs. Foster.
Thank you. Mrs. Foxmano reviewed with us some staff professional development. The preschool is looking to become a 4-star ECERS level preschool. Some preschool virtual screening tools are also being explored. There's some professional development for code of conduct that the high school principal is also going to be attending. Under new business, there's some screening that's going to be taking place for incoming kindergartners that are not currently attending the preschool. Mrs. Foxmano also explained some translation services that are going to be implemented, that we're going to be using the CARES funding to be implementing in our schools. Some extended learning substitute instructors for the extended learning year was talked about. Some ESSER funding was also explained. There's going to be funds that are going to be allocated for learning acceleration as well as mental health that's going to be put in place. And we also spent some time talking about some virtual high school classes that are going to be possibly offered in the coming years, and that's also something that we'll be talking about tonight as well.
Thank you, Mrs. Foster. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, at this time, we'll have the Administrative Subcommittee report by yours truly. Okay, we had a great meeting as well on March the 4th, and we covered quite a bit. As usual, we talked about the personnel and those things that were happening with our personnel, notices of retirement, salary adjustments. And we also looked at the district calendar, and there was one professional development day that brought about one change. Again, we reviewed the fire and security drill reports. and then the various reports that we received from the high school, spring game workers, coaching appointments, sports schedules. And we're excited about the guest artist approval for our dance academy. And then we continue to look at how we can engage our community. So we talked about our Pittsgrove Arts and Education Foundation, which has some exciting things coming up in the near future that we hope that our community will take part in and participate in to help sponsor and support the work of the Arts Committee in giving scholarships and grants. We also looked at our Equity Committee, and we had an update on the Equity Committee, and we are excited that they are moving forward in their effort to continue to have Pittsgrove Township schools be equitable for all of our students. Also talked about recruitment and hiring and the retention of staff. We looked at our special education and a couple different committees and teams. One of them is the Salem County Overdose Fatality Review Team. And we continue to look at the unfinished business, of course, is our COVID-19. That continues to be unfinished business. We hope and pray one day it will be finished. We won't have to continue to, review it, but we do, and we stay up to date on it. And Mr. Carey continues to give us an excellent report on how things are going for our district with COVID. We looked at the fundraisers that the district is going to be doing as far as the school system and our policy 5127 and the changes coming with that. And then just our general for information. And we're always grateful for the reports that we receive from our administrative team that keeps us informed. And that's our report. I need a motion.
Motion, second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, at this time, Mr. Harris, do we have any audience participation?
I believe Mr. Carey has something he's going to look from last hour's participation, but I have nothing at this time.
Okay, Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Dr. Cannon. I just wanted to follow up with the board. At the last board meeting, Mrs. Jacob reached out to the board and myself to ask a question about the U.S. News and World Report in reference to rankings for test scores at Shallot High School. I was able to look into that. For those of you that aren't aware of it, each year, U.S. News and World Report does a high school ranking, and they have a matrix that goes into that. Testing is one portion of that matrix. You can certainly just look it right up online and it'll tell you. But I did want to follow up on those scores that were mentioned by Mrs. Jacob. And the test scores that are referenced in there they're from 2017, 2018 PARCC scores. I'm sure the board is familiar with the PARCC testing from years past. The district the state stopped using PARCC testing the following year. And what those numbers indicated were our students that met number 4 or a 5, which is met or exceeded expectations. And although they were lower in the percentage points, if you go further down and you start looking at level 3, which is just below expectations, we had higher percentages. And then when you get down to your level 2s and your level 1s. What I do want to remind the board of, I was not here during PARCC testing for Pittsgrove Township School District, but I was very versed in it in my former district, is that PARCC scores struggled with validity. And what I mean by that is there was a great opt-out by parents and by students that refused to take the test. And also on top of that, some students, and I'm not saying that happened here, but I know it happened across the state, went in to take the PARCC test and did not take it seriously, meaning they just kind of went through it, answered the questions, and finished it. So what I would say is that we need to keep a closer eye on our newer test platform, which is the New Jersey Student Assessment, Learning Assessment, the NJSLA. Although I will remind the board that last year we did not administer this test. We just got the latest information on it. It looks like we are going to be administrating it this year. So I will keep the board posted on all our testing scores along with Mrs. Fox-Mano. But I do want to thank Mrs. Jacob for reaching out to us and bringing that to our attention. And if you'd like to get more information on the U.S. News and World Report high school rankings, they're available online if you'd like to take a look at all the other factors that go into that ranking system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carey. And again, we always appreciate our parents wanting to know what's happening with their children in our district, and we appreciate that. Okay, at this time, we're going to ask for approval of the Board of Education minutes from the meeting of February 18th, 2021. If I could get a motion.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. At this time, we'll have Mr. Carey give us the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Cannon. Under item 12, we have personnel. One mention here, we have a retirement. With great regret, we accept the retirement of Antoinette Scholl from the middle school. And then moving on, we have our fire and safety drills, fundraisers, the 21-22 calendar, and professional development in item E. So asking the board for a motion to approve items A through E.
So moved.
Okay, it's been motion and second. Any discussion about the superintendent's report? Mr. Harris, may I have a roll call?
Mrs. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hardman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wenzel,
Yes.
Mr. Wheaton,
Yes.
Mr. DiMatteo,
Yes.
Dr. Cannon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, so moved. At this time, we'll ask Mr. Carey for our school reports.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Cannon. Under item 13, we have 4 different requests under A, asking the board for approval of A 1 through 4. Asking for a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's a motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, at this time, roll call, Mr. Harris.
Mrs. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hardman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wenzel,
Yes.
Mr. Wheaton,
Yes.
Mr. DiMatteo,
Yes.
Dr. Cannon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, we have under our special ed, approval of the special education monthly student update, effective February 22nd, 2021. So we're going to ask for a motion for that, along with the Salem County Overdose Fatality Review Team. Approve a member to be a part of the Salem County Overdose Fatality Review Team.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? So moved. At this time, we'll look at our policy. Board of Ed Policy 5127, proposed revision. It's the second reading and adoption, approval of revised policy 5127, commencement activities. We're approving for second reading and adoption. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
So motion and second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. At this time, we're going to move into our community engagement. And I think that each month and at our committee meetings, we are more and more excited as we hear these 2 reports because of the fact that we so want our community to be engaged in what's happening in our school system. And so at this time, we're going to have our equity committee update and our Pittsgrove Arts and Education Foundation report, Mr. Carey. And, okay, Mr. Carey will take care of that.
Thank you, Dr. Cannon, and I will be asking Ms. Fox-Manor to participate as well. I just wanted to give a quick update, from my perspective. We had a professional development day with our equity committee involved, and what an amazing job that they did. And I'll let Ms. Fox-Manor go into more details of it because she was part of the planning and everything of it. But from my perspective as a superintendent, looking at the way that our staff engage with each other and the way that they open themselves up to have, really hard discussions that are difficult and sometimes was very impressive to me. So if you don't mind, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Fox-Manor and she can kind of fill you in more on the day.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Harry. So along with Dr. Alvarez, we planned by each school, it was pre-K through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12. So we actually had 3 different sessions just to keep the groups smaller and more intimate. But the message for each group was the same. So Dr. Alvarez led the presentation, and where we started was what's called the danger of the single story. And oftentimes we look at people and we have a single story of those people. And we really pulled back layers of that and allowed staff members to share when they've been the subject of a single story, or they've been the author of a single story, and what single stories are we telling about our community and our students in Pittsgrove Township. Those were all of the things that we explored in smaller breakout rooms. And as Mr. Carey mentioned, people were, very open to sharing stories where they've been the subject of a single story, they've been the author, things that we brought to the forefront of what's happening in Pittsgrove. And it was a great day in the lens of, I think you have to start with understanding the people you're working with and all of what we bring, our lives, our values, all of it. And so we were able to spend some time doing that. And, people were in groups with each other that they may not always be with. It was random, but we had equity council committee members, super proud of them and their leadership as teachers, facilitating the groups, because of course Dr. Alvarez wasn't in every group. So they were tasked with facilitating the groups, and they really stepped up and did a great job leading, which is what we expect them to do if they're on the equity council committee. So that was our kind of kickoff to bring the entire staff now into this discussion of equity. And that's a big task. How do you start that? How do you start the journey for an entire school district and, get that conversation really started in an authentic, deep way? And I like the way we started. I think it really, in the feedback, we had a lot of people say they wish the sessions were longer. When are we going to do another one? And so, that's promising that people, really were able to connect with each other differently, and where we can start to now look at these single stories and put it into action. Because, that's really ultimately what we want to be able to do. Disrupt and rupture those single stories that might be happening inside the classroom, outside the classroom, being reflective of our own biases that we may bring unintentionally or intentionally. So I think there's a lot of momentum. We have a lot of work to do, but I think it was a great day to, at this point, pull our entire staff in and start together. Because our equity committee's been doing, a lot of the work. And then as far as that committee, the 4 areas that we continue to do work in, I can tell you, Yvette and Gabrielle and myself and our group, course selections are taking place right now, and we're in constant communication of, we were really looking at economically disadvantaged kids and are they sitting in honors and AP classes, and we're really looking at those numbers because we were below the percentage that we should be with those students sitting in upper level courses. So we are keeping an eye on that. As course selections are happening right now, and that's what we want to be able to do. That's where we're going to move toward, making change, because we know we don't have enough kids sitting in those classes, and that's what Dr. Alvarez was starting to talk about too. We know education, it can be that pathway to, more opportunities for students, and we talked about a lot of the not necessarily achievement gaps, but all the other gaps that exist. And you can't ignore those, because if you ignore those types of gaps, like opportunity gaps, then of course there's going to be achievement gaps. So it was a great day. Super excited about the work ahead with, the entire organization.
Thank you, Mrs. Fox-Manna. And then on to our Pittsgrove Arts and Education Foundation. We met on February 3rd. It was a great meeting. We finalized our plans for our spring fundraiser, an event we're going to be following through. I had given the board a save the date at the last board meeting. We are finalized for May 14th for our talent show and basket raffle. So it's going to be two things combined at once. One will be a talent show portion for our students to show off their talents, whatever that may be. So if you think of the TV shows like America's Got Talent, it's going to be something along those lines. The students will submit videos to the committee, based on the amount of entries that we have. We're going to have to figure out exactly whether we can show all of them or whether we're going to have to kind of have a first round. We're under the impression that we'll be able to use all of them, but we want to get a feel for how many students actually are interested in this. From a student's perspective, we're looking at it like like an Instagram story video, which is generally about a minute, maybe to a little bit longer, about a minute and a half, to be able to show their talents so that we can do them all. And then after each segment, we'll probably do say 5 or 6 videos. Then we're going to raffle off a basket, and we have several baskets already being donated, more than several, over a dozen that are going to be raffled off, and more to come. As well as we also talked about continuing to try to recruit membership. So I will do my plug right here in open session. Anybody open to joining our Ed Foundation, we would love to have you as a part of it for the board, and as well to the community. We are looking for community members to join our foundation as well. You don't necessarily have to work for the school district, or be on the Board of Education or any of those different things. If you're interested in helping the school district and being part of our group and helping with arts and education and fundraising, we would love to have you. So we're right on our website. Please check out our page and stay tuned for further information, because we'll be pushing it out to the entire school community about our May 14th event. Thank you, Dr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Carey and Mrs. Fox-Mano. Thank you so very much. And to the equity team, committee, to the staff, to the teachers, as you all embark on the equity learning, it is an honor and a privilege for us to be able to hear these reports and see how well things are going, and to know that everybody is embracing and moving forward with that. And to our Pittsgrove Arts Committee, we thank you for the work that you do in helping to raise money so that we can continue to give our students scholarships and our teachers grants. So we are very excited about that. At this time, we're going to have our curriculum and instruction report from Mrs. Stephanie Fox-Mano.
Thank you, Dr. Cannon. I'd like to make a motion to approve number 17, letters A through E.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, Mr. Harris.
Mrs. Foster,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Hardman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wenzel,
Yes.
Mr. Wheaton,
Yes.
Mr. DiMatteo,
Yes.
Dr. Cannon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to have a COVID-19 update from Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Dr. Cannon. Very pleased to report to the board and the school community that all 5 of our schools are back in session. So phase 2 has our second attempt at phase 2. If you remember, prior to my beginning in the district in November, we did attempt at phase 2, but unfortunately the data did not indicate that we could continue through that. But we are now in phase 2 in all 5 of our buildings. We started with elementary approximately 3.5 weeks ago, and then we added middle school and high school this Monday. Middle school and high school are still on an abbreviated day schedule, and the reason we have that is to mitigate movement in the hallway, as well as close contacts during lunch and other things. But we are already in the planning portion. I mean, literally, the minute we deemed Monday successful, we went right into the next part of planning. The final phase is what I'm calling it, which would be a full days at our middle school and high school. We will be meeting next week to start to plan that out. We have some pretty great ideas, I think. What a super team we have that are coming up with some innovative ideas that I will share with the board and the public once we finalize those. As far as a date, I know that the people listening and the board and myself are always very interested in what the date. We don't have a solid date yet because we're still monitoring the data. But what we are looking at is to have similar to what we did each time we changed the phase is 4 solid weeks of acceptable data that will allow us to move into that next phase. With that being said, that would be sometime in mid-April, at the latest early May. Now that again is all dependent on the data. I did include for the board to see, and as the community knows, I send out every Friday an update to the school community talking about the data. This is really drives the decision making. We look at the local data, which is our school reports. And then we look at our county data, which is, Salem County, and then we move into our region, which we are the Southwest region. In the March 6th report, we were in really good shape. We had dropped to 17.88 in our COVID rate, 2.79 in our COVID-like illnesses, and then 5.53 in our percent positivity. That led again to a designation of yellow, which this is now would be our 5th week in a row in a yellow designation. Very pleased about that. Unfortunately, I will report that this week's data came out today, and although we are still in the yellow, our data has increased a little bit. So we have seen an uptick. Not overwhelmingly, not enough to cause major concern, but we did see an uptick. And the reason I want to bring this up is that, we have to stay vigilant. We've worked so hard. It has been an entire year that we've been dealing with this COVID crisis in our communities and in our schools, and we can't let up now. We're almost there. We're planning spring events. We're planning graduation. We're planning proms. We're planning field days for our kids. We want to be in school. Our staff wants the kids in school, and our community wants the kids in school. So I need everybody's help. This isn't just the Board of Education, the administration, and the faculty and the students. This is the whole entire community. I need your help. Please stay vigilant. Wear masks. Socially distance when possible. Good hygiene, hand washing, not spreading germs, not gathering in large groups. The other thing is the vaccination process has started. Educators are now, as we speak, being administered vaccination. On a personal level, I got very lucky to get in at one of the mega centers. I am now fully vaccinated for COVID-19, which I'm very happy about. And many of our staff members are taking this opportunity and are already either fully vaccinated or in the process, meaning they've already got their first dose and they're waiting for their second dose. But again, we need your help. This was a little concerning to me today to get this data because it's the first time since we moved into the yellow that the data has moved back into what I call a negative direction, which is back up a little bit, especially in our case rate. And our percent positive did move up a 0.5 percentage point, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is. And if we keep trending in this direction, it's only a matter of time before we would end up back in orange again. If we end up back in orange, then we have to start looking at everything in the other direction. And I really hope that doesn't happen. So let's stay strong, Pittsgrove Township. We've all been really working hard on this. And I think that if we can get through the next couple weeks, spring is almost here, we'll be in a really good spot as we move into, mid-April, May, and then obviously culminating with all our events in June, which we really want to be able to give to our students this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carey, for that update for COVID-19. Is there any new business at this time?
None, Dr. Karen.
Okay. At this time, we'll have our business and finance report by Mr. Harris.
Thank you. I'd like to have a motion to approve the business finance report, number 19, letters A through N.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion?
Just want to make a note that letters K, L, M, and M, K being a tuition contract, L being a jointure, transportation jointure that we are the host of, and then M and M being E-rate contracts, which are technology contracts. We're not part of the committee meeting, but they were time sensitive, and that's why they were added to this agenda.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Mr. Harris, roll call, please.
Mrs. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hardman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wenzel,
Yes.
Mr. Wheaton,
Yes.
Mr. DiMatteo.
Yes.
Dr. Cannon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so moved. At this time, we'll hear from Mr. Harris regarding the 2021-2022 budget.
Thank you. So I guess I'll start with a motion to approve, and then I'll go into discussion after the motion to approve it. Letters, number 20, letters A, B, C, one only, and D.
Motion. Second.
Discussion.
Thank you. So the first item, the semi-action plan, is something that is part of the child side team operation, and it's something that has to be submitted with the budget, so you see that there for your review. The second piece is something that has to be submitted as far as the preschool budget, which operates separate from the general fund. It's in its own special fund in Fund 20. So it's a self-sustaining budget for that preschool program, entirely state-funded, with the exception of a transfer from our operating budget to support the special education students in the regular ed classrooms, because this program is specifically for general education students, and so therefore there is a contribution required for special education students into this program. But again, you do get state aid for those students in your general state aid as well. So I just want to make a note of that. Looking at C, this is where we'll spend, I would like to spend most of the time at, is we do have our proposed tuition rates to be approved. But I want to look real quick at number 2, the state aid, Pittsgrove and Elmer. There was a few changes because we got some more information since the committee meeting. And if you pull the, I'm sorry, not the state aid, that's a lot to look at. I'm sorry, the tax analysis, number 4. If you pull the tax analysis and you go to the 2021-2022 analysis of proposed taxes, we are looking at a 2% increase on the general tax levy. That's what's being proposed in this budget to send to the county for review. 2% is the maximum that the district can increase taxes without using any other provisions, which is not being recommended in this budget. But the tax rate's always going to be a little different, and it's based on a few things. The first thing is based on the change in enrollment between Pittsgrove and Elmer. Now, Pittsgrove and Elmer Pittsgrove is a consolidated district that represents both Pittsgrove Township and Elmer Borough. Now, when the enrollment shifts one direction or the other, the tax burden shifts one direction or the other. So, for instance, last year there was a small drop in the Elmer population, student population, which resulted in a lower burden in the tax for Elmer and a slightly higher burden of tax for Pittsgrove. This year was a slightly different, and the Elmer population did grow slightly, and therefore that burden slightly shifts the other direction. That's one piece of the tax levy. So we first have 2%, then we have the change in population since we are a consolidated school district. The second piece is different between Pittsgrove and Elmer. With Pittsgrove breaks their taxes over 2 years. So what happens is 50% of the taxes charged out of Pittsgrove next year comes from this current year budget. The other 50% comes from next year's budget. And then the following 50% of that coming year budget will be in the next year's tax burden. So it's a split tax. So you take the average essentially of the 2 years, and that becomes your tax. Well, it just happens to be that our last 2 years we've had a 2% tax increase. So the average still is 2% over those 2 years. And so therefore, when we're looking at Pittsgrove's taxes, we're looking at a 2% increase, actually a little bit less, 1.9% increase based on what we talked about before, which is 3.68 cents. That represents approximately $69.10 on the average assessed house. Now, the average assessed house did increase by $700. So I'll go over this one document here, but I did get recent information as late as yesterday that the average assessed house in Pittsgrove is now $187,700. So 3.68 cents is $69.10 on the average assessed house in Pittsgrove. That's what our tax levy will look like if everything goes as it is right now to the county and approved at the public hearing in April. The other things that can change the tax levy for Pittsgrove is our ratables. Our ratables did increase slightly, approximately $400,000, and that did save the average assessed value of $2.72. So if there was no change in the assessed value, the tax rate for school taxes would have been $2.72 more. The increase in ratables did have that positive impact. For Elmer has a tax deferral related from the consolidation 3 years ago, and so that deferral is being paid back up to 10 years from now. And so when Elmer got the information, they did see a larger increase in that tax levy based on enrollment. And so therefore that deferral they opted for from the borough was going to be a little bit smaller this next year. And it's going to put them back on that 10-year plan. Now, the 10-year plan would be on average $36,606 every year. Last year, based on the enrollment shift, they upped that to $62,658. This year, based on the opposite impact, they decreased it to 18,303, putting them back on that 10-year plan to pay that out. As a result, we're looking at an Elmer at a 3.796, or about 3.8 cents, very similar to Pittsgrove Township. And so the average house assessed value in Elmer is $166,206, and that would be about a $63.09 payment. Elmer, we did receive in Elmer a large increase in ratables, which is actually going to save the average assessed value of a home $13.84, based on a $474,000 increase in the ratables in Elmer Borough. So the tax levy on the average assessed house is very similar for both Elmer and Pittsgrove in this proposed budget: $63.09 for Elmer, $69.10 for Pittsgrove. Any questions on the proposed taxes? If not, I'd like to go to number 6, which is the budget discussion of one page. We did review this briefly in the committee meeting, and I did make a few updates based on new information since the committee meeting, and so you'll see here updated March 12th. And this kind of gives you an idea of some of the major changes in the budget in a very top-level summary format. If you go to the letter D, you'll see the full 80-page budget proposed, but that would be a lot to go over in one sitting. So I summarized it with just some top-level stuff in this page here. And if you look at letter A in this document, our expenditures are expected to be increased by a little over $1 million from the previous year. Where that comes in revenue, well, 2% of the local tax levy is approximately $264,000. The state aid, we did receive an additional $90,000 in state aid. Our maintenance reserve, we don't anticipate using next year, so we're going to decrease that at $125,000. Our tuition and miscellaneous income, we project $7,000 less, but you can see the majority of this is coming from projected fund balance, $852,000 in projected fund balance, which is essentially a one-time fund to do what should be one-time projects. If you rely on fund balance to support your operating budget, and that fund balance decreases every year, your operating budget no longer becomes sustainable and you have a budget crunch. So when you go to the next section here, what you're seeing is a lot of these increases are in one-time projects. Because again, we're trying to sustain our operating budget over several years, and by doing so, we're taking our one-time fund balance and putting it mostly into one-time projects. Now, if you look at some of the increases and decreases in expenditures, we had a substantial decrease in projected out-of-district special education tuition, as well as what we were projecting in charter school. Again, they projected a 50% increase in our charter school enrollment. We had 0 increase in our charter school enrollment. We had several students that are out-of-district tuition students move out of the district, and so we're seeing a substantial savings in that line item. We're also seeing a savings in $180,000, which was, we pulled some maintenance reserve this year for COVID-related costs, as well as we had some flooring projects in our schools this year that we're still going to do some flooring projects, but not to the same scale we did this current year. Where we're seeing increases in one-time projects. You see the high school roof, we have designated an additional $750,000 for the high school roof. That's on top of the $550,000 we already budgeted this year. So we're seeing a large portion of our high school roof being replaced this next summer, at least being budgeted as a capital project. The Olivet parking lot, that's also on as a capital project to replace over this summer. That is the parent parking lot. If you've ever gone in there, you see it's in disarray.
I hate to interrupt you. We shouldn't be seeing the things that you're talking about right now, correct? Because under all of those items that you're mentioning, none of those things are under the content that you're saying that you're talking about, unless it's just on your mind.
So if you go to number 6 on item C6, budget summary.
Yes, like there's nothing under content right there. On the right-hand side in
Did you
the.
log out, maybe?
Does everyone else see it or no?
I have it.
You might be logged.
I got logged out a few minutes ago. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it. I
got logged out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, am I
Sorry.
losing my mind? I'm sorry, I got logged out.
No, I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, because I was like,
It's hard to, it would be hard to follow without seeing it.
okay, thank you.
But so the high school roof, a large portion of it, and the portion, as well as the Olivet parking lot, parent parking lot are on this budget, as well as the track and tennis court resurfacing is also added on this project as well. So that's in this provisional budget of the sense of the county. The track, it was a 7-year track. We're now, I think, on year 11 of that. And if you look at it, it's starting to delaminate from the actual underlayment, the asphalt. And so something needs to be done sooner, become a larger issue down the road. In the tennis court, we do have some cracks and some divots that also would need to be addressed sooner before it becomes a hazard to the playing surface. We are going out to bid for our paraprofessionals, and we do project an increase in the cost of paraprofessionals. That's an operational increase. We do have to purchase a few new buses, and we have no lease purchases expiring, so it's going to increase that. And we also anticipate the fuel costs will increase next year based on what we're seeing in trends. So we have budgeted more for fuel. You do see the salaries district-wide, $250,000 increase. That's after breakage and reduction in position, and then benefits $71,000 increase is what we project for next year, and that's how those break down. You see the tax levy analysis. You see that here. Pittsburgh's slightly different because, again, when this was done on March 12th, I had the average assessed house at 187, and it's actually now 187.7. So that makes a small increase in the tax levy for that. Just as a side note, the SFRA state aid calculation determined that the local fair share for the Pittsgrove Township School District should actually decrease by $392,000 this year. And what I can say is the reason is the number they used to back into that went down. So the equalized values and the incomes in this area did not go down, but the multiplier they used to calculate the district's local fair share was lower. And therefore, as a result, the local fair share went down $400,000. So as a result, last year the state was considered overfunding the district, and we lost state aid. But because our local fair share went down, we went from being considered overfunded as a district to now underfunded as a district, and underfunded by $158,000, which is approximately a $380,000 swing in 1 year. So Pittsgrove is not one of those districts that's considered severely overfunded or severely underfunded by the district. Pittsgrove is one of those few school districts that sits right there in the middle. And based on the calculation and shift in enrollment from 1 year to the next, the district could be considered overfunded by the state 1 year and underfunded by the state the next year. This year, based on the state's calculations and that changing that multiplier to a smaller number, we are now considered underfunded by the state, which means we did receive some additional funds, $90,000 to be exact. On top of that $90,000, we received another $50,000 for our preschool funding to support the preschool program, but we did lose $31,000 in debt service aid, and that's a result of the refinancing that we did last year. But even with that loss in state aid, we are still saving in our debt service payments. There was no increase this year, and there's projected to be a decrease in that state aid payment next year from the district. Budget concerns looking ahead, out of district tuition, charter school, that change in enrollment could have a substantial impact on a future budget if it goes back the other direction. State medical benefits can waiver significantly from year to year. We've been fortunate the last couple of years where we didn't have a large waiver in medical benefits. And we did something in January 1, switching benefits to save us substantial amount of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the next year. So that'll allow us to have an operational budget that we can sustain longer. And then we do have aging facilities that continue to need to be addressed. What I will say is this budget has capital projects in the operating budget that is much larger than what we had in the past. Last year we were able to do a lot of projects, but we did it through an ESIP financing project. This year we're actually doing it mostly through fund balance to handle some much needed capital projects in our facilities. Number 1 being the high school roof, 2 being the Olivet parking lot, and 3 being the track and tennis court, along with some flooring as well on a much smaller scale. That's what I have as far as the overview of this budget being submitted to the county. If you do look at D, D has the the full budget to be sent to the county. I believe it's an 80-page budget for your review. Again, what I'm seeking here in D is not to approve the budget. It's to actually send this budget to the county for their review. What'll then happen is the county will review it. They will ask questions, and they will most likely approve this budget, barring any unforeseen things that take place. And then we will have in our next board meeting a public hearing for the public, and there will be a full budget presentation that talks about all the things in the budget, goes over the tax rate again, and goes over some of the key points that we need to go over. After that public hearing, the public can give their input, and the board will then be asked at that point to either accept the budget as is or make changes to any line items and then accept the budget. That's the process at this point. That's all I have regarding the budget.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Harris, for a very detailed and informative report. We appreciate that. Already had a motion and second and a discussion. Roll call, Mr. Harris.
This is for, again, item number 20, A, B, C1, and D. Mrs. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hardman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wenzel,
Yes.
Mr. Wheaton,
Yes.
Mr. DiMatteo.
Yes.
Dr. Cannon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. At this time, we are looking at for your information. And 21, the administrative monthly reports, we continue to say thank you to our administrators for the monthly reports that they do. They are very informative, and we are kept abreast of those things that are happening in our schools, and we so thank and appreciate you for that information. Also, our reports on district enrollment, average class size, our SAC enrollment, our discipline reports, board and administrator handouts. You get those board and administrator handouts when we come to our meetings. And again, I encourage you to read them. There's a lot of good articles in there. If you get those school leader magazines at home and things that are talking about different things that impact school boards. So we want to make sure that we read those and look at some of those valuable articles that are there. Also, I want to encourage the board members to remember to check your emails. The New Jersey School Board Association continues to send out information that we need to stay on top of. There's also workshops and conferences and reports that you can sign up for. So we want to make sure that we do our due diligence as board members to keep ourselves informed as to what is going on. Also, Board of Education goals, we want to continue to check yourself as to where you stand with our board goals. And we do have to have an upcoming conversation about these. Also, we are thankful that Mr. Carey continues to work on the district and the superintendent goals. He jumped in and picked right up with those when after being hired. So, any questions about FYI for your information? Comments, concerns? Okay, at this time, Mr. Harris, is there any audience participation number 2?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, all right, at this time, I'm gonna ask for a motion so we can recess and go into a closed session. We have a contractual issue that we need to discuss, and about how long?
10 minutes.
Okay, we'll go into closed session for about 10 minutes, and we will come out after that and reopen the board meeting.
I don't believe there's going to be any motion items after the closed session.
Okay,
Maybe there will there be? No, I don't believe so.
okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been a motion and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, you're going into closed session.
Give me a minute. I just got to close the meeting here. And I'm going to be sending board members here a link for the closed session.
Sorry about that, Darren. I'm glad that I asked.
Carrie, can you hear us? Great. All right, we are back in public.
Okay, at this time, we are going to move to for the good of the order. Anybody have anything for the good of the order?
Nice to see everybody in person. And Michael, it's nice to meet you finally. Welcome to the board.
Thank you.
I just want to say to the board, thank you for allowing me to attend the Disney Leadership Workshop that was yesterday. It was absolutely amazing. The only thing that could have made it any better is if it was in Florida and we were down there at the conference. But even though it was Zoom and there was like 200 people maybe online or just about 100 and something online, it was well done. It was excellent. The information was amazing. And, you know, it was like Steph and I talked about it already, and it was a lot to absorb, but they gave us a booklet, you know, so that we can, you know, go back and review things. And also you can connect with, you know, DisneyLeadership.com or whatever the website was and continue to get information, but it was absolutely wonderful. So I appreciate you all allowing me to attend that, and the board paid for me to be a part of that. I appreciate it.
Anytime you do a Disney deal and you come out with money, you can do it.
I know, and you know what, I'm telling you, and they actually, because if we had been in person, they would have given us lunch because it was sponsored through Rowan. So because we weren't in person, they sent all of us a Deal Dash gift certificate so that we could order lunch and have it delivered to wherever we were at.
Oh, that's
I thought that was just phenomenal. So that was like icing on the cake. Like I said, outside of being in Florida, you know, who does that, right? I didn't expect that. Did you? And we got this email saying, okay, go to DoorDash, sign up, and then order your food and it'll be delivered. And it was.
If they're gonna teach you about customer service,
They have to show us.
Yeah.
They did, and it was like, yes, no wonder their theme is excellence. Who does that? So it was very good. So it was
Yeah.
wonderful. So in the future, if you know, if they do it again, any of you that want to get on board with it, Stephanie will keep us informed too about it. You know, take advantage of it. It really was an excellent. Well done. Just well done.
Last week was Read Across America Week, and I had the pleasure of virtually visiting Mrs. Harr's preschool class and reading them a Dr. Seuss book, and I really loved it. It was so nice to be a part of her class and not only read to them, but just engage with them a little bit and meet her and her students. So I just thought that although we're not in person right now, her class is a virtual class that she invited me in, and I got to meet her kids and her as well. I really enjoyed it. And then just last night, I was invited to Mrs. Laspada's, and all of us were, but I was just able to make it to Mrs. Laspada's class to hear her students share their nonfiction books, and that was a pleasure as well. And they were so proud of their work, and they each shared a different portion of their nonfiction book as well. So I just thought it was really great that teachers have been inviting us all in, and I had the opportunity to, and I just wanted to thank them, and it's great.
I want to piggyback off that because I got a chance to go to read to two classes at Norma pre-K4s. Mrs. Manafo and Mr. I'm probably gonna say his name. Frachetti, yes. And I got a chance to meet his children because they were in person,
Nice.
both classes. And his class, the students said they wanted me to come to their house, but they asked me to wait till they could clean up their house first, and then they would invite me over. So I told them, well, if you can do that, you can come clean mine, and you can come over to my house. But anyway, it was so much fun, and it's so enjoyable that I told them that hopefully if we can, I would like to see them in person before the school year is out. So they invited me, you know, and they were like, sure, you can come visit us. So hopefully by June, I'll be able to go and visit them and meet them in person, because it was such a wonderful experience, and all that energy and all that excitement. So, you know, you pick a short story because you don't want to hold them too long, but they enjoyed it. So I had a good time too as well. So it was great. Anyone else want to share anything for the good of the order? Sam attended the swim thing, right, last week with your son. That was good.
Yeah,
Where they honored the senior swimmers.
yeah. Every year, there's one of the swim meets in the latter part of the season where they honor the seniors. Of course, this year, parents can't. Tonight's the first night where parents are actually allowed to go and spectate. But they, 2 weeks ago, when I missed the committee meeting, the seniors, which my son is one of them, they brought them back to the high school and did gym. They spaced them out. And the coach did it. It was just us and the 6 seniors. But it was still very nice that they did that. The coach is always nice. She always has something very, very positive to say about each of the students. And they all were beaming and so nice.
That's awesome.
So under the circumstances, it was a great loss.
Awesome. Well, I think we're all hopeful and prayerful that as the time goes on, we'll see more in-person things with our students and hopefully work our way up to an in-person graduation. We can only hope and pray. We don't know for sure yet. So, but I think it's just every opportunity we get to interact with our students as board members is a plus.
Oh, and the coaches also chipped in about all 6 of the seniors a Chick-fil-A dinner.
Nice. Chick-fil-A, you can't beat Chick-fil-A.
It's the best.
Very good. Anything else? All
Dr.
right.
Cannon, if it's okay, I would
Yes,
just like,
please.
I'd like to
Share.
take an opportunity to commend our administration and staff. It's taken a big effort, a lot of planning in order to get our schools back to where we are at phase 2. I'd also like to thank our community. They're a huge part of this. To go back to what I said about COVID, it takes all of us to continue making strides to have our students back in school. But you can really feel it in the district. There's it's almost like, the old saying, spring is in the air. You can really feel it. There's an aura of positivity. The kids are excited, the staff is excited, and we really just want to keep this momentum going. But I really wanted the board to hear me commend the administration and staff, because they have done an amazing job making this happen for our students and our school community.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I think that just proves that we already know that we have the best. We have the best, we live in the best community, township, and so I think we're all grateful as we move forward. So thank you, Mr. Carroll.
I'd love to see that excitement because it is contagious.
It is. It's exciting. And then as the weather changes, the excitement picks up. So
Yep.
hopefully we'll have more to celebrate as the months go forward. Anything else? All right, at this point, we're ready to adjourn our meeting for this evening. For those of you who are watching or attending, we thank you and appreciate it. And if someone would give me a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night, everyone.
You as well.
Thank you.
All right, give me a second, we are still live.
I started it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I started it last weekend. It's running a little rough, man, I gotta.
Okay.